I love this music, and today everything is about music, so I'm really, really excited. In 9 seconds, we're going to do something really, really musical. Can't wait to see you. Hello, welcome to Dromaniac, the Unleashed Leaders of Change show. If you're tuning in for the first time, I'm Szebastian Onne, the almost naked CEO, and I'm here because I care and because I give a damn. I give a damn about everything that makes the humanity better. I give a damn about doing anything and everything that I can in my ability to spread kindness, inspire compassion, and allow people to dream big and make it happen. This show for me is more than just a live stream. It is sharing stories that once I thought I could not share, once I did not have a platform to share. And that's how Dromaniac started. I wanted to create a platform where people can share their stories, their journeys, their challenges, their pains, and help each other be stronger and dream big and make it happen. And I use the word a lot, influential, that is using your influence to create, engage, and lead brands, communities, individuals to dream big and make it happen, which is the biggest motto I have had in my life. And today I'm very excited because this entire episode is all about creativity. It's all about creative people, but it's also about the change, the creativity that sometimes we're not allowed because of either where we live or the culture we come from or the society we live in or the circumstances around us. It could be so many different reasons because of which sometimes we just don't get the opportunity to explore our creative self. I'll tell you one thing about me. I didn't know until the age of 24 how to swim. It's a very small thing, it's an athletic thing. But the culture I grew up in, it's not one of the important things at all for a child to learn. And I didn't know until I could swim how much I loved it, how emotional it made me that I could swim, that I could breathe underwater, that I could go one lap and 10 laps. I didn't know I could paint. I didn't know I could dance. I did not know that I can do salsa, I can do foxtrot. I didn't know these words existed. So for me, this channel, these shows are all about inspiring that creativity, engaging people to lead the change. And that's how Unleashed Leaders of Change was found. Today, in this season 5, episode 2, I could not have brought in a better guest. I could not have brought in a better trailblazer on this planet than a young, creative woman who's defied every barrier that came her way and made it such a beautiful journey despite all the challenges she had. So, rather than me telling you who she is and what she is, I'm just going to show you a little clip from her. So, producer, if you don't mind playing the clip.
Hi everyone, my name is Ashley Zarah. I am a singer-songwriter and Iranian dark pop artist. I'm a huge advocate for mental health awareness, suicide prevention, and I've used music a lot through my life to heal myself from my own traumatic experiences and try to help others do the same. To know more about my journey, go ahead and watch on Dromaniac TV. Want to learn more about my journey, you can continue on with Dromaniac. That's how you say it. We gotta do it again. That is so kind. Oh my God. Thank you.
And there's actually another backstory to this video and this experience because Ashley looks a lot like not one, not two, not three, but four people I know in my life I grew up with. So it's almost like I was talking to her in the green room just a minute ago and saying, it looks like my dad is playing a pretty huge prank by sending my sisters into a different country with a different skin tone and just saying, haha, it's actually your sister. So I am so honored to bring Ashley to the show. Hey, Ashley,
Hi. I laughed
how
so
are you?
in silence. I was cracking up at so many things that I can't even keep track of because there was just a lot. I'm good. I'm happy to be here.
I am, it is such an honor to actually have you here because there's a part of you that is so inspiring and powerful and emotional to me personally. And I think you are what to me is change. You bring the change, you are the change. And I want to go into, so if you don't mind telling people a little bit about, with your background, who you are, and where do you originally, your cultural background, where do you come from?
Sure. I was born and raised in Los Angeles to a huge Iranian Jewish family. Um, on both sides, a lot of people, they see my skin and my hair color, my eye color, and they're like, oh, so you're half Persian, you're a quarter Persian. I'm like, nope, 100%, mom and dad. We've been in Iran for like thousands of years. But my brother and I were the first ones born outside of Iran, in California. And yeah, that's what we do.
Beautiful. And here's the interesting part. You come from an Iranian family, and of course, Iranian and Jewish culture would have had a lot of influence as well. And what's, I mean, for me, it's incredible to see what you're doing. So you are a musician,
Mm-hmm.
and what do you do with your music? What kind of music are you in, if you don't mind?
Yeah. What am I doing with my music? I've always been, I've been one of the many people who have been guided and healed by music. I think sometimes we have friends, we have family, and those are our support systems, but sometimes there's something said in a song that makes you feel like you're not alone. It's something that everyone has been struggling to say to you, but in like 3 minutes, someone speaks it to you in the best way, with the best melody and the best harmony. It's perfect for what you needed to hear. And I wanted to pass the torch. I wanted to continue that tradition of community in music and healing people with music. And so, what I do now is a genre that I've coined myself called dark pop, and it's essentially, I grew up listening to a lot of rock music, a lot of course, Iranian music, a lot of everything music. But I noticed, as much as I loved pop music, and it's like the largest, it's the most popular um, genre that's out there, I got like the least amount of emotional catharsis from it. And so I wanted to kind of like meld all of the emotional journey and emotional intelligence that I've gained, the wisdom I've gained in other genres, and implement it in pop music. Because there are like millions of kids who are jamming to fun pop music, but aren't really like learning anything, or aren't feeling seen, they aren't feeling heard when they're going through a bunch of shit. Oh, can I say shit? Can I
You
say?
can say anything. You
Okay.
can say
I feel like
anything.
you might have told me that
This
before.
is almost Naked CEO's channel. You can say anything.
Okay, cool. But like, yeah, they're going through life, and pop music recently is not really reflective of real life. It's reflective of some weird fantasy that we're trying to sell. So dark pop is just like realistic pop music, but really fun. It's still pop. It's just like the stories that are being told are maybe a little bit more relatable.
I've listened and watched to some of your music. It's just so real. It's just so much. It's both emotional and fun. That's the way I put it. It's emotional. It makes me feel things. I only, getting angry at your boyfriend, but at the same time, it makes me laugh. And it
Yeah.
was really good because it's catchy in a way that involves me personally. And I think anybody who's watching and listening is feeling that they're in that journey, is feeling that I think a lot of us have been on that journey. So that's really beautiful about your music. But here's the thing, you talked about traditions. Traditions haven't been your best friends, have they?
They can, but no, in the past we've kind of butt heads a lot. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about butting heads. So first of all, tell me this, even before we get into that, when did you know that music was your thing? When did you know that music was your healing power?
I was 3. I knew. It was like not, I remember, I have a very young memory. There are a lot of people who are like, oh, I remember things when I was 2 years old. I'm that person. And I remember when I was 3, when I would like blow out my candles for my birthday, I had like this long list of things that I wanted to be. I was like, I want to be a princess. I want to be a mermaid. I want to be an astronaut, and blah, 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 a musician. And then every single year it started to, the list just got shorter and shorter. And it just, at a point, at a very, I think it wasn't too long after, it just was, I want to be an artist. I want to be a musician. I want to be a singer, songwriter. And it just stuck.
So
It was,
once again, and I'm sorry I'm interrupting because I'm actually controlling. I wanted to interrupt you at the first statement itself because are you sure you're not my sister?
she
Because
said the same thing.
here's the funny part. I remember things from when I was 6 months old and shocked my parents.
What? That's
I
crazy.
asked something and their reaction was like, who told you that?
Right.
Because here's the thing, I have grown up in a family, in a micro family where mom, dad, and me, and they chose to literally not connect with anybody in life. Like, I technically don't have any relatives whatsoever. And without going into making it about me, but what I'm saying is, when you said that, it just reminded me exact same thing. Like, I remember things and I ask things, but people just go, how do you know that? You've never been given that story. You've never been told that story.
I'm
I know my first, caretaker, the babysitter, when I was 6 months old, and I took her name, and they were surprised because nobody in an entire family has known us. She's such a long history, and you used to talk about things. So at 3, you already knew that you loved music. How did the family react then? Because you're a child. People don't say a lot of things to children. So how did they react at that time?
Oh, it's fine. I mean, actually, we played a ton of music in the house. I think one of the reasons I was exposed to it was because my dad was always blasting classic rock, the Grease soundtrack, Persian dance music, Persian depressing music. Like, that's what we would listen to. And when he wasn't at
Yeah.
home, my mom was blasting Madonna and Cher and more Persian dance music so she could like tire out her children so we could be running
Right.
around. There was always music, and we were always singing, always dancing. That's really huge in Iranian, particularly Iranian Jewish cultures. We like to party, and
Sorry,
art
go ahead.
art is a big deal in our culture. It's huge.
Right.
And so when you see that someone's adoring music, you're like, oh, well, that's the Iranian thing to do. We all love music.
Right.
So fine. You're like, yeah,
But
it's cool.
here's a little contradiction I want to understand, and I come from a similar culture. The color of the culture is everything. The music, the art, the handicrafts, everything. So how is it that despite growing up in that culture, is it something, and just to for audience to understand and for me to understand, is it something that you do all that celebration and music and everything at home, but it's not something you do publicly? Is that how it works?
With us, it's kind of complicated now. Just politically, things have changed a lot. A lot of people think that the way Iran is now has been the way it's been forever, and it
Mhm.
is very much not so. No, I mean, even now, it's normal for Iranians, even in the country, to go hang out with family and friends at their house, and you're blasting music and dancing and dare I say drinking. Yeah, that's very common. It's really, really common, but it
Right.
depends on the scenario, of course. Like you need
So
to.
how is it that when you wanted to get on your journey of music as a musician, you know, you of course face some challenges. Actually, let's go back a little bit. So you decided you're going to pursue music as a career,
Mhm.
and what happened?
Well, that's I knew at a very young age, even in elementary school, that this is what I was meant for. Essentially, no matter how I would try to fight it, I could not. Um, and every time I would bring it up with family, it kind of tore our household apart, which was really weird because from the beginning, I was like, I thought we all loved music. I thought music was a great thing, and we all recognized the power of it and just how much goodness it gives to the world. But there was a lot of
Mhm.
screaming and crying, and it blows up in proportions that it doesn't need to. And so I kind of kept my mouth shut about it, but I kept doing it, and nobody really heard about it anymore, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. And after high school, I still knew what I wanted to do, but I knew if I told my parents I don't want to go to like college, they would kill me because education's a really big
Right.
deal.
Yeah.
And so I kind of, again, was really quiet, and I had been writing and performing at things for years still. And then I spent 2 years at a community college just trying to kill time to figure out, like, how can I please everybody? I wanted to find the formula. How can I do what I want to
Right.
do and also make them love me and accept me?
Right.
Um, and during that journey, I found out about a school called Berklee College of Music. And I didn't ever think that I would get accepted because they are like the biggest contemporary music school in the whole entire world. And a lot of big names have gone there. But I auditioned quite secretly. Nobody really knew what was going on. And if they did, it wasn't a big deal. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. And then months and months later, I got rejected from this other music school. And so I was like, well, shit. If I got rejected from that place, why would Berklee accept me? Because they're even better. But then I got a letter in the mail, and it said that I did get accepted. And I
Uh,
never cry at these kinds of things. I used to always laugh at kids who would like cry when they got those "you've been accepted" letters from their dream school. I was like, "Peh, school, that's whatever." But I cried so
right.
much because it was like the biggest validation. I was
Yeah.
20 years old. I have known with all my being what my calling is and my purpose was. And I had never been validated by anybody that said, yes, you are right and you should do this and we support you. And so that's what that letter stood for. And it's a big deal getting accepted into such a huge program. And so when I ran into the house, I remember everybody was watching TV, and I was never like this crazy when I came into the house. So I did. And I was like, oh my God, I got accepted to Berklee. And I was telling everyone, and they were all shocked and like, oh, wow. And they were very excited, I think, just because of my energy. And they were like, wow, congratulations. That's amazing. And I remember the next line was, you're not going though, right? And I just froze. It was like a moment that I think the whole world stopped. Because also something we didn't mention is that like you don't move out of your house, especially as a woman, until you get married. And you especially do not move to the other side of the country ever. That's not, I mean, you don't do that. And this place was in Boston and we're in California. So it's like, that's already one thing.
Right.
Um, but yeah, that's why, I mean, that's what they knew. That's what they were comfortable with. And so that moment froze, and it was like, a moment of decision where you could really commit to what you're doing. And I was like, I know where I'm supposed to be, and I don't think it's here because this doesn't seem like the environment that knows how to nurture the direction that I'm supposed to go in. And so that was, I don't I was never a really defiant teenager or anything. But I just looked at them and I had like shock in my eyes. I was like, no, I'm going. I don't know what I'm going. After all this, I know
How
that's
did,
the next step.
as you just said that your world stopped, but how did you feel? How do you feel in terms of like, did you know that you'd be able to fight this? Because to me, that is really really shocking. And when you told me the story first time, I told you my heart stopped for a second. You
Yeah.
know, you're just being told congratulations, and you're not going. I don't know how to react to that.
The snatch. um, I just think I had been told no, and that I was irrational, and that I was just being, I don't know, like an anarchist all of my life. That this was a tangible solution for like this fantasy world that everyone had been telling me about. I'm like, no, this is real. And I'm being told by like a huge amount of people that I can join this real world. And that's where I'm going to go blossom and learn. I mean, the school itself was just like, I don't want to say escape because I don't like that concept of like running away from your problems, but it was maybe refuge. That's a better word for
Mhm.
it. Like a place where I could go and incubate and just
Right.
learn alone. And so it was kind of like what you said before, like you didn't know what all those different dances were. It's like I didn't know about all of that information in the musical world because no one was there with me being like, "Oh, you're interested in this? What about this? What about that?" All these different little like sects of that subject.
Right.
And so I knew that that's the next step essentially. There was going to be a lot of things to learn and it was going to be overwhelming, but it's what I've been asking for the whole time. And I knew that if I was going to commit to this, I was going to commit to it fully. And I truly believe that if you have like patience and passion, that it's all going to work out. It's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Even if I didn't even intend on graduating from the school, I just knew that it was the next step to my next step. You know what I mean?
No, I love that. I love that. Next step to your next step. You've just given me a new perspective at life. I love that.
Yeah.
And this had other challenges for you. You talk about mental health a lot. So what was that journey? What really happened? If you're okay to share that?
It's a big a thing because I
I just want to say this before you say anything that despite everything that you've gone through and the challenges you've taken and the struggles you've gone through, your smile is like
thanks.
it's so much power. You're incredible.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And that's actually something that um I mean, I do think that people kind of have a natural innate disposition. Um, like I've always been a very smiley person ever since I was a kid. It didn't matter what the hell was going on. I was like, it's okay, we're gonna be fine. And that also caused its own problems. Like there is such a thing as toxic positivity. That is, you do
Mhm.
escape um, traumatic situations by being like, no, we're okay, we're fine, we're
Yeah.
fine. um, but no, this is all genuine. I should say that. So I should also say in Iranian culture, it is not uncommon to have mental health problems, but mental illness and the discussion of mental health is very taboo, extremely taboo.
Mhm.
I think that's um, you might be familiar with that. I think a lot of Eastern cultures have
Yeah.
that association with mental illness and mental health. Um, so we had a lot of, I was growing up seeing a bunch of people much older than me where I could clearly identify like something is not right. There's an imbalance in this person. Just the way that they communicate with people, you could tell they were just unhappy. And I think I read a study somewhere that it's a huge percentage of the population. It is above 50% of the Iranian population that has depression. like clinical depression. And that hit very close to home too, because I was also living in a household where we were not spared this at all. Like my parents, they had their dose of that, and it was for years and years of growing up with bipolarity and growing up with manic depression and suicidal, well, like contemplation of suicide. Luckily, my parents did not go all the way through that. It's really hard. But these are things that you grow up with as a child, and you have to kind of, there was no studies about mental health, even though we were in Los Angeles. Like we were seeing doctors that were like, these are things we're just learning about. So you could try these medications, try these kind of therapies and stuff. And then when you're a kid who grows up in that kind of an environment, you definitely pick up stuff that you don't know you're picking up. And I think one of the reasons that moving to Boston was like the best thing ever for me was because I thought that if I fly across the country and my entire environment is different, a lot of my issues with depression would go away too, because everything was new. Everything was brand effing new. So how could I feel the same, right? And little did I know that the location doesn't matter, because everything that's inside of you, you carry it wherever you go in the world. You cannot run away from that stuff. And so it really honed in on the fact that I had been depressed since I was 10 years old. It honed in on all of my insecurities and my self-deprecating behavior, all that kind of stuff. And I finally decided, there were a lot of things like I had been covering up for the longest time, but I had finally decided that I just want to be happy. I'm done with this bullshit. I don't care. I want to let go. And so that's when I started to really pursue like actual help, whether like allowing my friends to help me, allowing myself to show I don't have my shit together, allowing to show weakness. Because I had always been like, everyone would always meet me and say, you have your shit so together. You're so inspiring. You're so this, you're so that.
False positivity is just the worst.
Yeah,
it doesn't help at all.
But they didn't know because I had this facade that wouldn't, how could they know? You know, like I was showing.
That's what most of us do. That's what most of us do. We are socially constructed in a way to happy is the only good thing to do. You know, sad is not a good thing to do. We'll talk about that more in a second. We're just gonna go for a quick break. So we'll be right back. And you know what? I can't wait for the countdown because I'm talking to such a wonderful person that I just made to spend more time with her. So if you're tuning in just right now, this is Unleashed Leaders of Change. I'm Szebastian Onne, the almost naked CEO. I'm here because I care and because I give a damn. I give a damn about things that matter to humanity. I give a damn about things that matter to this planet and our lives. Today we're talking to Ashley Zarah. dark pop Iranian singer, um, beautiful person inside out. And we have been talking about her journey of, moving from a tradition where as a woman, she wasn't expected to allow to sort of be a musician, let alone what she has become today, and the mental health challenges because of everything that life is that comes in the facade we live with, and how important it is to actually talk about the mental health. So let's bring her back and continue the conversation.
Awesome. Hey.
It's I think we need to just do a show where it's like I can hang out with for 8 hours with you, and we do nothing else. We just bring our whatever refreshments we want, and we just have some fun because you are so amazing. And the Metropreneurs team says thank you, Ashley, for speaking about mental health so candidly. You're a ray of hope and very inspiring. So true, so very true.
Of course.
I agree with you, team. What you're doing is an example. First of all, the transparency that you bring about your own journey, about your own challenge, and not being ashamed of that, not being embarrassed about that. That is the very first step to help others heal. And you talk about it through your music as well. That's what you're trying to achieve. So if you can tell me a little bit more about with your music, how exactly mental health is your view, and how you're envisioning that to happen.
Sure. I think once I noticed that throwing myself on the fire makes it easier for other people to open up and engage, I really wanted to make sure that like they see that I own my story doesn't own me. And therefore I wanted them to feel the same way. It's like, listen, you are not the things that happen to you, but you can tell us about the things that happen to you. Those are stories. That's like human culture thrives on storytelling. We've always loved it. And that's one of the reasons why I mean, music was my medium, but that's one of the reasons why I melded them together this way. I wanted to make traumatic issues really easy to sing about. If I, there's so many things I want to say. There's like that
Please
concept
go
of of speaking things into existence. Like when you repeat affirmations to yourself, for instance, those are things that stick with you. That's why we do them. And so if you make these stories really catchy so that people keep repeating it, it's a lesson that they're kind of just like speaking out loud to themselves over and over again. And so I wanted to make the healing journey, though as difficult as it is, parts of it can be fun. I wanted people to see that they weren't alone, that we are in this together. There's nothing to be ashamed of, because if you can paint the picture however you want to paint it, and I'm choosing to paint it in a specific way that's more digestible for people. I can paint it in a way that makes people freak out and want to run the other direction. I could, but I'm choosing not to. I just think it fits my storytelling process, my sound much better like this.
And I think that is what I noticed about your music as well. The music it takes you in a very personal place, but in a non-confronting way. And in a very subtle way, you're sharing the emotions, you're sharing the challenge, you're sharing the anger and frustration and the beauty, but it's not confronting. It's kind, it's subtle, and that is what I find is really beautiful. Um, so when you started this journey, you say you were 3 years old, you started doing music, and then you get into one of the best, schools. And tell us a little bit more about the moving away, because I'm still so curious, like what happened, how did you convince, and how did you, uh, I don't want to say this in a negative way, as you said, not escape, but how did you break free, to go to your path?
I haven't thought about it in a while, so I'm taking a moment to think about that whole journey. I mean, I've always loved traveling. It's not something that we did very often growing up because I don't really come from money. I don't come from it, so it's hard to fly around and see the world. And so I was going to the East Coast. So I was like, yes, this is exciting. So I was excited the whole time. I've never really had like separation anxiety with family to an extent that it's like not good. Like I was always relieved sometimes to be away from people. And so I think I felt really bad thinking about it now. Like I was so ready to go. And my parents came with me. They're like, are you going to miss us at all? Like I felt so bad. And of course I did. But I moved into a dorm room because I had to. That's one of Berkeley's ways of taking your money. And I met this amazing French girl who is now, I call her my wife. She's my sister, my soulmate. She's my best friend. But we weren't really able to communicate. This school is practically an international school, so you have a lot of students coming in that don't speak English. I think it's like a 60-40 split. Like 40% of us are American, 60% are not. So like she was teaching me a bunch of things. I was teaching her, like helping her with English while she was taking classes. And I was doing that with so many amazing people from so many other countries. A lot of people were meeting the first Iranian they've ever met in their life and the first Jewish person they've ever met in their life. And as strange as that was, because in LA we have such a huge like Persian Jewish community, I was like, wow, I am being a vessel of like a moment of education for other people. This is so cool. Sometimes it was a little threatening. And so now I was being tossed in this pool of diversity where sometimes you're not met with maybe, what's a nice way to say this? I don't know, not met with easy responses. And you have to be really classy about how you communicate with people. But for the first time, like I was really alone. So I was able to absorb everything I wanted to absorb. I think the reason it was so hard for me, what was difficult for me, was the fact that I was still super depressed and I had no idea as to why. So I would be learning all of these new things, having all these new experiences, meeting all these people. And yet while I was on the train coming back to my dorm or my apartment or whatever, I was just sad. I was just empty. I was angry. I was all like the list of negative emotions. I was tense. And it was just because I think I had subconsciously just been running from the trauma. It's not easy to visit traumatic points in your life. And so you very naturally compartmentalize those things. And I started seeking help. And as they were trying to help me, I started resisting it. I was like, this is not what I want. I just want some like pills to help me sleep. And they were trying to be really polite and being like, that's not how this is going to work. And then I stopped going. I was like, well, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Speaking of resistance, I think it also comes back from our culture as well, because you're not supposed to, like, it's kind of like agreeing, or you're crazy, and you're not supposed to be crazy. You're supposed to be sane, right? High Tech Mother says, very beautiful story. Watching from India, you're so strong. I wish I was like you in my younger years. You know what? I know your story, High Tech Mother. So you are a fighter in your own journey, you know.
Exactly. So. You're exactly how you're supposed to be. All of that stuff, your own personal journey, is exactly what you needed to ride, you know? So
exactly. and, you know, I understand the perspective, I understand the challenge, the resistance that you had, because when the first time I was suggested that I need to see a therapist, which I don't have any embarrassment today of talking about, the thought was like, are you out of your mind? I knew I needed help, but I refused it because nope, that's the weak thing to do. That's, you know, I'm not crazy. It's like our cultures teach us in a way like it's as if you'll be institutionalized and you just lost it and it's over for you.
Yeah.
You know?
Because that's what they do. Yeah. They pictured like,
ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, please.
But no, I just wanted to agree that that's if anyone
And
has
the
any.
thing is, with what you're doing and you're using your medium to actually convey that message and help people, um, and I think it's a personal self-care thing as well. While you're helping others, you're helping yourself too. Taking care of. I am still struggling with the words healing, so you can see I'm not using the word because I still don't understand the healing concept in a way. But as people say, I think in a way you're healing yourself as you're trying to heal others.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all the songs that you hear, I am first writing it for myself. I'm not writing being like, I can't wait to write a song about depression for other people. Like, I am going through something that I'm not able to recognize and understand yet. And so at first it's for me. And then once I really understand, like, oh, no, this is good enough to help someone else, maybe, you know?
Yeah. So actually, this brings me to another question. You also love animals, and especially dogs. So tell me a little bit about dogs. What's
I
yeah.
actually was attacked by a dog when I was a kid. I think I was 3. Yeah. And so I was very resistant to dogs. I loved them from a distance. I was like, wow, they're so cute. I'm not going to touch it or do anything. I'm just going to stay away. I'm going to just love you from afar. Um, yeah. But then when I was 16, my brother came home with this little fluff ball, and she was so cute, and I just couldn't help myself. She was a little bit of a demon, as well, because puppies can be crazy. But she genuinely, she opened my heart, understanding like what it means to care for another being, whether it's a human or a non-human animal as well. And just unconditional love and resilience of animals. They're so beautiful, and they see life in such a simpler but wonderful way, being that like there's a bunch of shit that we hold on to, and that we're always focused either on the past or the present. I'm sorry, past or the future, but not the present. And they are just so present. And so they're here to teach us a bunch of things. And I just love animals. I love them. And like the original flag of Iran was an animal as well. Like we're are in
Oh,
love
okay.
with lions. We had a Persian tigers. We like had peacocks that they're like our national bird or something, but they're beautiful. They're also gorgeous and symbolic of so many character traits that we're always trying to um, anthropomorphize for a reason through these guys. So
Right.
yeah, love them. I love animals.
I know. I'm learning from you. I'm learning about Iran a lot more, and I think that's what's beautiful about you because you've grown up in Western culture, but you have kept the culture alive, even though you have gone against the traditions and done things, but you have. I think you're a great example of how you actually can love and promote your culture and traditions and yet be yourself and yet follow your dreams. And it's time for the world to kind of understand that traditions have their place and value, but dreams do too.
Mm-hmm.
And when somebody's a dreamer like you, it's funny because you're a dramaniac. You are a dramaniac. You're a maniac about your dreams. So it's beautiful. Um, as we're coming close to the end of the show, I do want to ask you, what's your journey now? Where are you today in life? And what kind of what's the latest music that's you're working on?
I now am back in LA. I have been for a little over a year. Um, and yeah, so I'm back immersed with all my triggers in this community, but I do believe that the universe kind of like places your triggers around you when you're ready to prove that you can handle them now. And I really do think that I have. I've been collaborating and meeting a bunch of amazing artists, trying my best to collaborate with other Iranians. I love elevating my fellow community artists. And actually, currently, my next project is a electronic desert themed EP called Mad in the Travel, and it's inspired by the fact that my lineage has been in the desert for thousands of years. And even though I was the first born outside of that desert, I was actually also born in a desert in the Mojave in Southern California. So it was like preordained that I continue the traditions of my past and that I love and cherish and accept every part of me. And I'm really obsessed with being Iranian. I would never change that ever. I am like such, my Persian friends make fun of me so much. They call me their grandma because I just go, I'm a little like hardcore sometimes. But yeah, like the music, one of the songs is purely inspired by Persian music and a lot of electronic elements. Another one has got like cool Southern California, like house music and talking about like.
So, tell us a little bit more about this song, My Boyfriend. What is that song about?
That song was about a drummer that I had who essentially confessed his feelings for me. And I was like, okay, all right, I can see that there's something there between us. Sure, let's try it out. But let's respect our professional and our personal relationship. So if anything gets weird, this ends because I want you to be my drummer. And he was like, yeah, same. I want to be your drummer. And within a few weeks, it spiraled out of control. And I had known this guy for like 2 years, and he had been nothing but wonderful. He was a great source of light in my life. But I guess he got super comfortable and decided that now I'll show you my true colors. And they were very bad. And so it was really hard trying to get rid of a toxic person in my life who had been in my life for 2 years as a very wonderful part of my work and my.
How people change once things get more personal. With your permission, is it okay if I actually play the song a little?
Sure, go ahead. It's my.
All right. I hope I'm doing this right because I haven't done this in a long time, and I just want to share with people the beautiful art that you create.
Thanks.
Let's see. So here we go.
Doesn't argue with the wizard, cause you're the decaf. No, my boyfriend doesn't blame me for his antics, melodramatic tactics. No, my boyfriend doesn't make me put a bra on, even for a restaurant. No, my boyfriend knows what he wants and says what he needs. Knows how to talk without biting me. Takes the front seat, watching me drive, but snatches the wheel. Right in time, I guess that's why you're not my boyfriend. I can see why you're not my boyfriend. My boyfriend gets to see me dress up, just to take the dress off. Whoa, my boyfriend is allowed to look, but it's more welcome to die. Sure you want, you still hold me in the midnight, cause it wouldn't feel right.
Well, there you go, and I just wanted to give people a little bit of glimpse of what your music is like, and so where can people find your channel? Where can they go and actually subscribe and listen to your music?
You can literally find me anywhere that you stream music. I am there. I have made sure that I am accessible in all platforms. So just type in Ashley Zarah and I will show up. And then on like social media, I tend to go by Ash Zarah, which is funny because I don't really like it when people call me Ash, but I did it. I did it anyway. So yeah.
We do things in life just to keep things interesting, right?
Nice. Yeah, maybe it was just me being like sarcastic with myself. I don't know, but nobody knows that's the joke, so they just call me Ash. I'm like,
now they do. Now everybody does.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I love your music. And that video itself, as I said, it just takes you there. It just It feels so great, and I just enjoyed watching all of the videos as well. I wish we had the time to play it all. Um, so, guys, you can check out Ashley on influencers.dromaniac.com/Ashley. You'll find all the shows she comes on Dromaniac TV, and her music, and how to contact her and everything else. So, Hollywood, if you're listening, call now. So, it's time. Uh, you are a beautiful person. You are inside out, and as I said, a trailblazer, because what you're doing, it's brave, it's inspiring, and it's the change that this world needs. This You're amazing. So, Ashley, before we close this, I want to ask you, for all the women out there, in fact, all the artists out there, in anybody who's either dealing with mental health issues, or the traditions coming in their way and all that, how can they follow their dreams? How can they dream big and make it happen?
I think it comes from a Drake song, but I heard it was a lyric that essentially means do whatever you want. And but I kind of took it as do whatever you want as long as it doesn't hurt anybody, because then it's fine. And by hurt anybody, including you, you're a body. So if it doesn't hurt other people and it's not hurting you, just go ahead and do it. Like, I hate to be a jerk and insensitive to people, but this is something that I am gonna just bluntly say. Everyone who's questioning us, especially if they're older than us, those people are going to pass away at some point, and then you're going to be stuck alone in this world being like, wow, I did everything in this world trying to please people that aren't even in my life anymore. And that's going to suck. So, not to be like a little biting at the end of this whole entire thing, but the more and more that you live your life for other people's lives, their lives are going to end up going in different directions. They don't think about you and what your choice is every single minute of their life. You think about you. Whatever speaks to you, whatever makes you smile, that's a sign that that's something that your body, your spirit, your mind really enjoys. That's a sign that that's a direction you can go in. And I think anything that makes, adds positivity in the world, it's not a bad thing. So if you're feeling positive because of those things and they're not hurting you and they're not hurting anyone else, you're on a good track. Go do it. Have fun.
You are beyond incredible. And remember, because of you, I came up with a new word. You're incredibly beautiful, So you are incredible and beautiful and absolutely amazing person. You are what I call a leader of change. And I'm so honored and so grateful to have met you. And also, you are my dad's prank, because you're either my auntie or my sister's something. So we'll find that out.
Love. Yeah, you never know.
Absolutely honored to be in your company. Thank you for doing this.
You as well. Thank you for having me.
Please don't go anywhere. Stay in the green room. I'll join you in a second. Thank you, Ashley. So, guys, this was such a beautiful conversation, such a beautiful person. And as Ashley was saying, take steps, push boundaries, follow your dream. And sometimes you have to break away from the traditions and the situation and the circumstances, but that doesn't mean that anybody needs to get hurt. And that is what I love about Ashley Zarah. She did what she did. She followed a dream. She broke free from the traditions. At the same time, she does respect those traditions. She does love those traditions. She loves being Iranian, and she has nothing against about the culture. And I think that's the most beautiful thing. That's the biggest change we need in this world right now, that you can bring about a change. You can challenge the status quo. You can change how things used to be and how they should be, and yet not make it harsh, not make it heartbreaking for others as well as yourself. I just love this thing that she said, that it shouldn't hurt anybody, including yourself. So if you're hurting, if somebody else is hurting, you need to find a smarter way to deal with this. And for me, whether it's her music, whether it's her, intentional work for mental health in her music, with her art, with her skill, uh, I just think Ashley Zara to me is not just a name; it's a verb now, because being Ashley Zara, doing Ashley Zara life, and thinking like Ashley Zara is the change, is what we need to do to keep families together, to keep tradition alive, and yet follow your dream. I could not agree more. People are going to pass away, the ones you love, the ones you try to please all your life. And I'm actually going through that change right now. So I can tell you, yes, you want to be kind to everybody. Yes, you want to love people in your life. But that doesn't mean that you have to live to be a people pleaser. You have to live your life. You have to fulfill your dreams. You get only one life, at least as much as I know. So thank you so much, Ashley, for actually doing this with me. I am so honored. And thank you guys for tuning in. If you like the conversation, please go ahead on YouTube and Romaniac TV, like, subscribe, and comment, and let us know how you found the show. I am really grateful to you. And as I always say, uh, I'm here because I care and because I give a damn, and that's why we do these conversations. So until next, please take care, dream big, and make it happen. I'll see you on the flip side.